Hi there. Welcome back or welcome to Recovering Out Loud podcast, the show where we get real about mental health and addiction. I'm so glad you're here. If you or someone you love is struggling with drugs or alcohol, please reach out for help. Send me a message on all social media platforms at Recovering Out Loud Pod or by email at recoveringoutloudpod@gmail.com. You are no longer alone. Because I don't know about you, but I was a lunatic.
Present. Yeah. I always tell people I was like a dumpster fire on a train, like just barreling through everything. But it was nice to have that conversation because her story is very much connected to mine. Right when I got clean and sober, she decided to go out. So so that had a huge effect on
to go out and relapse.
She was about 17, I want to say, and she started hitting the drugs when I decided to get off of them. And so, the life that I lived now became her life. So that was really hard. I had to learn how to lovingly detach, and a lot of things happened very quickly. She got into a really bad car accident, and I was able to show up for her, which is something I wouldn't have been able to do before. And then a friend of hers actually went into a drug-induced seizure when I was 3 months clean and sober in my basement. Ooh. Yeah, so I got woken up to that, and I sent my daughter to rehab. She lasted 4 days and was like, I want nothing to do with this. So we were in the car the other day, and she's like, Mom, I have to show you something. And I was like, what? And she pulls up her I Am Sober app, and it's 2 years free of cocaine. Whoa. Yeah, and she was like, I totally forgot and missed it. And I was like, I'm so fucking proud. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you can swear. It's good.
I'm so fucking proud of you because I only have 4 months ahead of her.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a really beautiful moment where I got to see what I was like in a very brief period of time in my daughter and the damage that caused my family. So it was a big wake up call to I'm not in control of anybody's healing. I did the damage. It's my responsibility to take that back and to show them that I'm not going to live that way anymore.
And I mean, you'd be remiss if you didn't add that your recovery definitely played a part in that, right? You showing up every day. I'm picturing a world where, and I'm sure this exists out there, where, you have mom, dad in active addiction, children in active addiction. Yeah. It's just you're fueling each other, enabling all over the place, right? So what was that like watching her, and how'd you get through that?
It was really traumatizing, to be honest. I think at first I was very selfish in the fact how dare you? Here I am trying to better my life, and now I have to watch you do this. And at first I had that very selfish, self-centered moment where I was like, why are you doing this to me? And then very quickly I got humbled, and I was shown she's not doing it to you. She's suffering from her own pain. For me, when I was in active addiction, what I realized was I couldn't see anything past my pain. I couldn't. I loved my kids. I wanted to be there for them. There were all these things I wanted to be, but I couldn't because I was consumed by my pain. And that's exactly what happened to her. So I was able to kind of switch my perspective on that and understand that there is nothing I could do to save her. I have to allow her the space to have her experience, but I'm also in a position when she's ready, she knows where to go, and I can be there to support her. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to watch, but I got goosebumps. But I'm also really grateful that I was able to be there when she was ready.
Yeah. And that's the key is they always say in Al-Anon, it's I didn't cause it. I can't control it. I didn't cause it, and I can't cure it. Right. Yeah. So it's I talk to parents all the time in addiction because of my job, and they're like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. There's
no answer.
There's nothing you can do, right? There's no playbook. There's no answer. There's no template to this. That's another reason why I really wanted to start this podcast is because I've had parents reach out to me and be like, thanks. That helped me, and it's what do I do? Well, you said it exactly. It's I can be there when they're ready, And so let me ask you this. You've probably learned a lot from that experience, right? But what does enabling versus support look like?
Oh, that's such a fine line, right? Because when somebody, I see this even as a sponsor, or as somebody in recovery. So to broaden this a little bit, when I first came in and I got to a point where I was able to share my experience with others, I was like, I'm going to save the world. Yeah. That was my thought process. What I came to realize quickly after that is I'm not able to save anybody. The only thing I have is my story, and that I'm able to share. You know, I'm able to give that support. So I think the enabling comes in when we're constantly trying to swoop in and save. Like if what I'm doing is because I don't want you to hurt, then I'm enabling you, right? Like if everything that I'm doing is fueled by my need to feel okay with what you're doing, then I'm enabling you. But I think what happened with me was I wanted to do that at first. And then I had to I realized very quickly from my own recovery, even though it was very little at the time, there was absolutely nothing I was going to say or do that was going to make anything any better. She had to have that experience on her own. What I will say is there were many messages where that were just, I'm thinking of you, I love you, and most of them were not responded to. Yeah. And that was okay because I understood she needed to take that time on her own. But when she was ready, I was there. And, you know, keeping your feelings and emotions out of it is huge. And that's a really hard thing to do, especially coming from someone super emotional like myself. Yeah. You know, you want to save, but the reality is like sometimes people have to fall on their own. Yeah. That's what I had to do.
Yeah, same. My parents, you know, helped me so much. They enabled me a lot, but then, they learned from their mistakes in doing that and giving me money, a lot of people don't realize too that enabling takes all sort of forms. Like, this is going to sound very harsh, but I was talking to a dad on the phone today, and I mentioned that like even just providing shelter is enabling, because when my parents let me live in the house, I was coming and going as I pleased and using my drugs as I pleased, right? And hiding them. And I still remember to this day, like I would put, my Coke in my waistband, and I would try and sneak in the house. And the one night my dad caught me, I'll never forget it. It was like, that was the first time I really cried out for help when I was 23, 10 years ago. And, I remember long story short, he had been tipped off by my friend that I was really bad, and I was using more than everyone else and I couldn't stop. And he had told my mom that I was coming home just after grabbing, and I was drunk and whatever. I'm walking up the stairs. I'm thinking that I'm, slick, pulling it, no one knows. And he comes in the room, breaks down the bathroom door and finds it, flushes it down the toilet, like right in front of me. And I get goosebumps just thinking about that, because I'll never forget that was the first time when I actually told the truth, and I yelled out and cried, like literally bawled my eyes out. And I said, I need that. I need that. Don't you understand? I need that. And my sister, it was the first time she ever heard like how bad it was. And so that was a pivotal moment for me. Right. Yeah. What do you think kept you in active addiction for so long?
I think it was pain. Like, honestly, I grew up, I went through a lot of trauma, and growing up, I was never really taught what healthy love was. I think so I was constantly looking for like this, anything to fill this void that I had within me. And I didn't want to feel any of the pain. I absolutely did not. So I kind of created like this shield of whoever I needed to be at the time. And when the first time I tried drugs or any substance, to be honest, it was like I finally felt comfortable. It was like nothing bothered me anymore. I had there was no thought process on like, oh, this hurts or that hurts. It was just, this is it. I can do this, perfect. I'm good. Yeah. But I wish, at the time somebody would have said, it feels good now, but like, it's going to take everything from you, because it almost did. And but I'm also very grateful for that, because if I wasn't in the state I was in this time when I hit this bottom, and it's funny because this bottom, like nothing crazy happened. It wasn't like they found me on the side of the road and I woke up in the hospital with all my clothes cut off, because that happened. Like it wasn't, there was nothing.
It was a higher bottom than you're used to.
Yeah, it was nothing traumatic. All my kids were living at home, although they shouldn't have been, because it was basically a trap house. But I was dead inside. And I just, the morning I decided that was enough, like my moment of desperation, I was contemplating taking my life in the house where all of my children were at home. And I didn't even put two and two together until like 6 months ago. And I was like, whoa, that's insane. Like, I didn't even think about like what would happen if and when one of them found me. Yeah. Like, that's how much pain I was in, and I just didn't want to feel it. And then I, crawled back into recovery and here we are. So
what was that? What did that look like? Did you make a phone call? Did you reach out?
Yeah. So I use a 12-step program. And I had tried it twice before, once, like many years ago. It wasn't for me at the time. And then the last time was a few years ago. I ended up with some charges, and I was like, well, this is probably what everyone wants me to do. So I tried it, and I actually got a sponsor that time. I lasted a whole 37 days. And you know that like mental blank spot they talk about? Something happened with my kids. They got into a fight at school, and I was like, let's go for lunch. And now I'm thrown back. So it's like, it was like, I didn't even think about it. I went back out. I wasn't doing it for me, though. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to get better. I was doing it to appease everybody.
You're talking about the milk and the whiskey thing?
Pretty much.
Yeah. For people that don't know, there's a passage in recovery literature where they talk about a guy relapsing, and he was clean and sober, hadn't had the thought in a while about using or drinking, and he shows up to a bar and he's having milk, and all of a sudden a thought comes into his mind. It's funny. It's a funny story because a lot of people can't relate to that exact situation, but I've had many situations where it's like, boop, this is a good idea. Yeah. Let's do it. And for me, it was like, so to finish the story, he decides that his stomach is bothering him, and a whiskey would go good with the milk. And that's how he relapsed, just like that. Right? He didn't tell anybody about it. He didn't call anyone. In my experience, it was, I thought I had ADHD too. We were talking about this before. And I was like, I can't focus that good at work. And it wasn't like it happened over time slowly, but I kept having these thoughts of like, I know a guy that, and it usually started with knowing someone being on medication, that it worked great for them, right? Yeah. And I'm like everyone else, it's going to work for me, right? And I was like, I got to fix my ADHD, right? And then that's how I relapsed. I had, gotten back on the Adderall, the Vyvanse, and I'm getting it from a doctor, and then I'm buying it on the internet, fake stuff, whatever. And I'm using it to party now and all these things. But it all started with that moment where, even though I can't really relate exactly to the whiskey and milk thing, I'm like, why would anyone fucking do that, right? Yeah. But I'm like, I get it. That's addiction. It's insidious, right? Cunning, baffling, powerful, and patient. It's just waiting for that moment. And what I found today is there's that gap between thinking about doing something and doing something that, as you stay sober longer, in my experience, it gets greater and greater and greater, where it's like, I pause before I make irrational decisions based on emotion. Yeah. And so today, when that thought comes, because they do still come, right?
Absolutely.
The time gets bigger between. I call someone. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Yeah. Or hey, I'm having this craving or whatever. Sorry, that was a long rant there.
No.
It's a great story.
It is a great story, and I didn't relate to it at first either, but I mean, I can see it now. I can see it. And so this time was a lot different, though. It was February 10th, 2023. And I was sitting in my bathroom, and my will to live was done. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was in so much pain. I wasn't able to show up for anybody. I wasn't able to show up for myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I was literally the shell casing of a human. There was nothing left. And I reached out to a couple people, and one in particular, I actually every once in a while thank him for this. I was mad at the time, but he said, there's a meeting at 8, go. I said, I'm still like not good. He said, just go. And
I'm giving you an answer.
Like, here it is. I'll meet you there. And I said, okay, fine. If you'll meet me there, I'll go. Nice. He did not. And and to be honest, I think he saved I think he's part of what saved my life, because my type of addict, if you give me an inch, I'm taking everything from you. I'm not taking the mile. I'm taking everything. Like, I mean, I will use and abuse. Like, anything like I take. I just want it. And not because I was a bad person, but because I was suffering. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't think about your suffering. I didn't think what it did to you. And so I had to walk back into those rooms broken and bloody and crawling and full of guilt and full of shame and just full of all the ugliness by myself. And I did. And I remember this day, like it was yesterday, because I walked in, had a temper tantrum. I think I kicked a chair. Like, it was so bad. Like, I dyed my hair red the night before, like total meltdown. And but what I'm so grateful for in that moment is, like, I had to do it on my own. There was nobody holding my hand. There was nobody co-signing my bullshit. Yeah. It was me, and that was it. So what are you going to do? Yeah. And that was my choice. Like, There was no more running at that point. I didn't want to die. And I truly believe that I would not be sitting here right now had he have, you know what I mean? I just don't think I would be. I would either be dead or alone dying inside.
So. I always say this, that if I had to list all the people, places, institutions, counselors, doctors, family members that helped me get to this point today, I'd have a book like this big, because I have a lot of pivotal moments like that where I can think of one specific person, you know, counselors, especially my first treatment, getting me into my first treatment, right? All these people that, even though I may have relapsed or whatever, after the fact that they planted the seed, that seed is still there. It doesn't go in, like I knew where to go after that. And all those moments lined up perfectly to get me to where I am today. And everything happened the way it was supposed to, right? It wasn't perfect by any means, but I'm still alive and I'm sober today. So it wasn't all for nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think too, like when I came in this time, I was riddled with shame, like way more than ever. I mean, I had slept through Christmas. It had gotten so significantly worse in the last while that like when I think about it, I never, ever want to feel that again. Yeah. Like I never want to feel that again. Like when they talk about, you know, spiritualities or religions for people who don't want to go to hell, and spiritualities for people who've lived it. Like I was in my own personal hell, and I never, ever want to go back to that. Like, and just when I think about the damage that I caused to my family, like repeatedly, and all the promises that I made that I couldn't keep. And it's actually really funny. My daughter was taking her to an appointment a couple months ago, and she's like, we talk openly, like my kid, I'm very open with my kids. And she said, you know what was crazy about when you were in active addiction? And I was like, oh no. What? I'm scared. Yeah. And she was like, every time something really messed up happened, and she was referring to the day they found me, and I woke up in the hospital, all my clothes cut off. She was like, you came home and it was just another Tuesday to you. It was like nothing crazy happened. And that was how I lived my life. Like it didn't matter how traumatic the event was or how messed up it was just another, like I couldn't be bothered. I could not be bothered. I just continued on my, you know, destruction path.
Yeah. Like a tornado ripping through the house. That's interesting that she remembers that, right? Your reaction to it. That's very interesting. I think we don't realize the impact we have on people in our lives because, and I hear this every single time I talk to an addict that's contemplating like whether to get help or not, is, well, I'm not hurting anyone but myself, right? And that was a huge one for me. That kept me out there for a long time. It's like, I'm not it's just me that's hurting, right? Nobody else. And then come into recovery, you find out, you know, your wife's been calling the morgue every night. She's been calling police stations. She's been calling funeral homes. And it's like, oh my God, yeah, like I'd be doing that too, right? I was gone for so long, for so many days. Fentanyl, like there's all, you know, I was doing coke, like, how could you not do that, right? But you're so stuck in it at the time that you don't realize the impact, the waves that you have on other people. Tornado, like we said. I think it's crazy, but you know, I'm ultimately, what am I trying to say? How you talked about shame. A lot, right? This is where I was going to go with this. How do you, because that doesn't go away when you get sober at all. If anything, it amplifies, right? How did you deal with that today?
It's a tough one. So I think a lot of my shame is surrounded. So this is a hard question to answer, to be honest. So, and there's different parts to it. So it depends on which shame we're talking about. If we're talking about the shame attached to me being a parent, especially living in active addiction and all the mistakes that I've made throughout my life, the one big thing is I have a very high expectation of what I should be as a mother. And I had to do a lot of work on that with my sponsor. And so when we were going through our resentments and our fears, one of my big fears is being a bad mom. And we worked on that. So in that moment, I was able to like really look at it and be like, where did you get this absolutely ridiculous expectation that nobody in this world can live up to? Like, that's insane. And I was able to like, you know, I am a human with my own experiences that I wasn't able to work through. And I wish that I didn't cause everything that I did to my children. But here's the thing, and this is how I'm able to work through that shame is, yes, addiction touches everybody around you. They say it's a family disease. Recovery is also the same.
Yeah, I love that.
So all my kids live at home with me. We're all very close. We're not without, our own problems and our own issues, but we're all very close. And, they've watched me recover. So they get to see it, and it hasn't been pretty or without mess. There was a time when I was a very angry individual. I wasn't able to handle my emotions. Anger was like my go-to until I realized anger is the secondary emotion, and it's blocking me from the pain that I want, that I don't like. I'm avoiding pain through it. So they watched me become a very angry person, and like they watched all these things happen, but they also got space to heal on their own. I was able to give them that space. And so a lot of that shame, I'm able to work through. I also had a lot of shame attached to a lot of the abuse and traumas that I went through throughout my life. A good friend of mine and I were talking, and the one thing that she had said to me that kind of blew my mind a little bit, and I knew it, but I think when somebody says something to you, sometimes it like registers a little bit more. Yeah. And she was like, I think for a very long time you felt like you deserved everything that you went through. And I think she's absolutely correct, right? So I would carry the shame of something somebody else had done, and I would carry it as my own, when really that's not mine to carry, that's somebody else's to carry. But I think the shame is attached to the fact that because of the pain I was in, I became all the things that I never wanted to be to other people.
Yeah.
You know what
ironic,
I mean?
Eh?
Yeah. So it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do this. And then I would do that. And then I'm not going to be this. And then I would be that. You know what I mean? So, but learning that when you leave things and you don't work on them or work through them, like this is what happens.
Yeah. I saw something on social media yesterday that was like, when you avoid anything, it comes back tenfold, right?
100%.
And usually when you least expect it, or just in a public place sometimes.
Oh my God.
When you're not ready, and it's just like, for me, I've done a lot of work too in treatment with counselors and sponsors as well over shame. The steps are a great tool for me. Yeah. They're not for everybody. I realize that, but they work for me. Yeah, same. It's the only thing that works. Same. Yeah. And continues to save my life, right? So there's a process in there where you're writing down all these things, right? And there's something that happens. This is why I always say journaling is so important to me, is because something happens when you put it on paper. I heard, Joe Rogan used to talk about journaling and how it cleanses like your thoughts and offers up more bandwidth for good thoughts to come in, right? You're purging.
Things small.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, there it is. It's not that powerful anymore because it's not circling around in my head and like doing laps and like gaining, thoughts. I just thought of this now, but thoughts in my head, I love metaphors. So thoughts in my head, it's like they're going around a racetrack and someone's like fueling them up every stop. Right. And they just keep getting faster and faster and worse and worse. And then one day I'm smoking meth again. It's not that, extreme that quickly, but all bets are off when I don't follow some sort of program of recovery. So for me, it's like, I have a lot of shame that comes up every once in a while now on all the money my family spent on my recovery, right? Whether it was treatment, counseling, life coaching, whatever, in the last 10 or 15 years of my life. That'll come up every once. So the other day, and the reason this came up, the other day I was at my parents' house, and I opened a book and a piece of paper fell out, right? Yeah. Thanks, right? I'm supposed to look at this now. I always do that, right? I'm like, oh, great. What's this going to be, right? And it was like a bank draft from one of the treatment centers that I've been in. And it was like, a significant amount of money. And I forgot about that treatment center. And, I hadn't thought about it in a while. I went to 3, all private, and I'm grateful that I went there. And I was able to, pay them off slowly and surely, but still paying it off. But my point was that I looked at it and I was like, immediately, you piece of shit, how could you do this to them? Like, think about all the money. And it's just like boom, 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 right? And I had to get out of myself. I had to like go talk to someone. I had to get out. I went for a walk, I think, at the time, because my phone is like 3,000 pounds sometimes.
Yep. Oh, I know that. Yeah.
So just like get outside for a walk, right? And then eventually I tell people about it. And it gets better over time. But so what I do with that is, someone in my treatment center recently told me this. I never used to like affirmations. I hated them. I thought they were cheesy.
Yep.
I do them every day now, every single day. I wake up every morning and I'm like, today's going to be a great day. I literally started saying that, and it's been working. Like, I'm going to be a success today. I'm going to show up today, whatever that looks like, right? And not financially, I'm just going to be myself, right? And she always used to say this, and I love it. She said, I have these affirmations every morning where she says 3 things. I forgive myself, I love myself, and I believe in myself. And I find that sometimes when all else fails, like if I can just go back to that, even writing it out in my journal, it's like, yeah, I fucked up. I made a lot of mistakes, right? I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of money on treatment with my parents, but I also spent a lot of money on drugs and alcohol too, right? Today I can say that I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Right? So
I think there's something really beautiful in that, though. Like, you feel a lot of shame, but like if we change the narrative on that and like change it to your parents, like, look at how much they really did care.
Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes when we're stuck in self like that, it's so hard for us to see the other side. And but it's a beautiful thing. Like, I see it all like, I didn't have family that had supported me through it. And I didn't go to treatment. I didn't go to detox. I ended up with pause because of it, but that's fine.
You ended up with what?
Post-acute withdrawal syndrome.
Pause. Yeah. Post-acute withdrawal syndrome.
Terrible.
I know. It took me a while to get over that too.
Yeah. But, like, I think that's beautiful. But I think on the other side of that, when I get resentful that I didn't have like all these, my family kind of, coming chasing down my door or any of that stuff, I remember that like I have this beautiful family that I've made in recovery. You know what I mean? So there were perfect strangers like there to pick me up when I needed it. But it's all changing narrative for me. Like, perspective. Before I was always like, why me? Well, why not me? Though really? Yeah. Like, why should I be immune to all the hardships of the world? Like, what is that? Right? I love it. Yeah. So, but I love that they were so supportive. Like, that's an amazing thing to have.
Yeah, it's a good point. And thank you for bringing that up, because recovery does offer me that. Yeah. From a high level view, if I had to sum up recovery, I would say let go. Like, that's a big one. Like, let go. Huge. That could be summed up in 2 words. And I didn't make that up. Sandy B, I believe, made that up, who's a speaker. But let go, and like, it's a beautiful thing that we're in. But if I could sum it up in another way too, is all recovery does to me, for me, is it lets me shift perspective.
Absolutely.
In all situations of my life. Whether it's a sponsor, someone in recovery, your family members, hey, why don't you look at it this way, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I never thought of that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and to call myself out, like I live a pretty spiritual life these days. I do. But like, I can't be spiritual with everybody. Like, there are parts of my life where I struggle with that. And I think that's like important to note too, because again, that shame creeps in, like, oh, I wish I didn't behave that way. Cause now I don't have a problem with drugs or alcohol. Yeah. Now I got a problem with my behavior, right? Like, I'm like, ugh. Yeah. But the difference is like, I catch those things a lot quicker now. And again, it's the change in perspective and like,
I almost just lost it at a lady at the gas station over there. So it's funny because, there was a long time where people were talking about Elon Musk creating this chip thing, and bear with me for a second here. Yeah. I'm going to relate this back, where it's like a microchip where people could read each other's thoughts.
Oh no.
And I was always like, I hope that never happens, because if someone could read what I'm thinking, I'm fucked. I'm so screwed. Right?
Present. Yeah, no.
So I was standing in line at the gas station, and one of my pet peeves, I have a few of them, but one of my pet peeves is the person that does the lottery tickets at the front when there's like a whole line at the gas station, and then they're asking questions and this and that. I'm like, I gotta go. Don't you, and it all goes back to the director, right? Yeah. I want to be the director. Like, you need to follow my script. You need to listen to me. If everybody just played along with my parts, my script, the world would be a better place.
Right. Oh. And I feel like the control part though is so hard. Like, and especially, like, I've been on my own for quite some time. So, like, as a parent and as a human, like, I left home at, I think it was like 15 years old. And so the control piece is really hard for me. Like, I used to gain this false sense of security, and I had to do that on my own, and I was never actually safe. So now when things feel out of control to me, like I really had to work on like, let it go. And it's still one of those things where like, I'm starting to, like, I catch myself sometimes. I'm like, oh, why isn't this? Nope. God has a different clock than me, or whatever you believe in, the universe, the trees outside, whatever. For me, I call it God because it's easy, but
nice 3-letter
he
word.
doesn't run on he doesn't run on my clock at all. Yeah. And we fight about it sometimes. But you know, control was hard for me.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. I get what I need today, not what I want. And 100%. Then I invariably find out that it was what I wanted the whole time, right? If that makes sense. I get what I need today. It's not on my time though. Right?
So somebody had said to me quite some time ago, you know, I'd be like, why is this bad thing happening to me? You know, and I would place judgments on whatever was happening in my life. So if I'm being honest, the very beginning of my recovery, well, actually pretty much my whole recovery has been a dumpster fire. Like, it's been really hard, right? It's like one traumatic thing after another. But what happened was, she was like, maybe instead of placing judgment on what's happening in your life, you just look at it as an experience. Because I was like, this is terrible, or this is amazing. And then it would turn out to be the opposite. So like, what I'm really, really, really understanding, but also seeing now in my recovery, is whatever happens, and whether I think it's good or bad, I really have no idea, because the worst possible thing that happens might be the best in the long run for me. I just don't know it yet. Yeah. So if I look at things as an experience rather than, oh, this is terrible, why is this happening? Or, oh, this is the best thing, yay. And then turns out to be the worst thing. So just trying to like move through the experience, whatever it is.
That's a great point. This is bad or good in my mind right now, right? Mm-hmm. Like right this second. Right this second. Yeah. It's not, and we don't really know what the outcome is going to be, because we can't control the outcomes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to talk about spirituality a little bit more, and faith, because I think that's important, and we bring it up here quite a bit. But what does faith look like to you today on a daily basis?
Today? Oh, it's a lot different than it was. That was a tough one for me. It was really tough, because I truly believed that I did not believe in God, and then I came to, or spirituality, like faith, anything. And then I came to realize that if you hate something, you believe in it. So like, I absolutely did. But it took a really long time for me to get to where I am. So like, at first I was like, I can't get on this God spirituality train. I can't do it. And someone was like, just be open and willing. Like, it doesn't have to be, you know, Jesus or like whatever. It doesn't have to be what everyone else thinks. Like, just allow yourself to be open to the idea of something greater than you. And so I did. And then I would go to meetings and I'd be struggling. And then all of a sudden everyone would be talking about the things that I'm struggling with. Yeah. And like, it became too much to be a coincidence. And then it became numbers, because I'm a weirdo. And then it started to really shift so the beginning of my recovery, I relied very heavily on human aid. I needed my sponsor to tell me which foot to put my shoe on. Like, I called her for everything. And then something happened where she was removed from my life very quickly. And I had a bottom in recovery, and I started to shift from human aid to the spiritual program. And, you know, today it really looks like, I don't know why this is happening, but I trust you, you know? So I truly believe that everything that I've gone through in my life has gotten me to where I am. And although I may not have deserved some of those things, they absolutely created the human that I am today. And it gives me the opportunity to share that with other people, which I think is beautiful. Yeah. Like, there's purpose in that. Yeah. And whatever happens going forward, there is a reason for it, and I have to just trust that. So I think that's where my faith lies today. And I mean, I do get up, I talk to God a lot. Normally it's like rambling. I didn't know how to pray at the beginning. I literally prayed like this. Hey man, are you anybody there? Like, I didn't know how. Yeah. And eventually, you know, now it becomes like more of a conversation where, like, if I'm really struggling, like, crying was really hard for me. I don't like vulnerability. I felt like it made me look weak. And now, like, I'll be driving in my car with tears streaming down my face. Like, I don't know what you're doing right now, but like, I trust you, you know? So that's how it's really shifted for me. I really believe that like me being here today was not me. Like, you know, I very much could have ended my life that day. And something inside of me said there has to be more than this. And that was not me talking, because I didn't talk like that at the time. So that had to be something greater than myself.
I have goosebumps thinking about it, because it's so true. Like that's, you know, spiritual experiences are a term that you often hear.
Yes.
And that was a spiritual experience for sure, where it's
for
like,
sure.
I don't know what happened. For me, my spiritual experience, I've had many.
Yep.
I didn't realize it at the time. Again, you understand it. You know, life is lived forward and understood in reverse.
Yes.
Someone said once to me. My last bottom was at a hotel. I was getting kicked out. I had enough drugs on me going into, like, I gave them to my wife before I went into rehab, but I had enough drugs to go probably another week, right? And that's not me, like, giving that up. There was something in my head that said, give up your drugs and go to rehab. Like, you have no other, I mean, I had a lot of choices, don't get me wrong, but I didn't, to your point, and you mentioned this earlier, is like, it was harder in my mind for me to keep facing that demon over and over again than it was to just let someone drive me into treatment again. You know what I mean? Like, and I had that moment. For a long time, it wasn't, though. For a long time, it was harder to get someone to just simply drive me into treatment than it was to stay out there and use. Yeah. But it was like, and again, that's the spirit. I spent many weeks fighting that until one day it was like, boom, something popped in my head. There's a small window of willingness. And then I spent the next 4 days detoxing in my apartment, and I don't know what happened, but I gave up my drugs that day and I was done, right?
Yeah. So it's like you come face to face with the shadow finally, like face to face with it. And like, I didn't understand it at the time, but it was like, this is it. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. What does it say? We have two options: to go on to the bitter end, using and drinking until we die, or to end up in jails and institutions. Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of us
alone.
do. Or alone. Yeah. A lot of us do end up in those positions, right?
I think that's why this is so important for me. Like, why I'm so in the middle of, why I'm in the middle of my own recovery is because, like, I see it all the time now, right? Like, recovery is going to save less people than addiction is going to take. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you can continue to do this and we can continue to try and, like, alleviate some of the stigma. Like, not everyone's going to understand, you know, people hate things they don't understand. That's why it's such a harsh stigma attached to it. But if we can keep talking about it and keep sharing our experiences, then maybe other people who really think they can't do it might have that small little inkling that they can. Yeah. And I think that's so important.
Yeah. Do you think that it'll ever outweigh, that it'll ever turn the other way around?
I hope so, but I don't know. And the reason I say that is because I'm an observer, and what I've observed is, and this is just my own personal opinion, so don't come for me if you think I'm wrong, okay?
Cancel, please.
But canceled. I think people are terrified of dealing with their pain. You know, I've watched people come in and I've watched them go back out because that pain consumes them again. And trying something new is so much more terrifying than living in that pain. Than dealing with that pain. Yeah. So I think it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of willingness. Like, it takes a lot to make those changes, and it's so much. And for some, it's easy. And it was for me too. It was easier for me to just go back, you know, to not face these things. Like, my recovery's been extremely painful, but it's also been full of the most beautiful blessings, like, not without pain. But that pain, I think, is very hard for some people to face.
Yeah. And without pain, you wouldn't experience the highs, right? Right. It's like, I wouldn't appreciate a sunset if I haven't seen a million cloudy days. Right?
I used to hate the sun. Yeah.
You know, oh shit. Yeah,
birds are chirping, the sun's out, rude. Yeah. I am busy. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm not done yet.
Yeah, like the wind would piss me off, like everything, you know? And now, like, those are some of the like the sunset, the waves crashing, like, these are the things that I love. You know, there's something really healing about the water, and, like, being able to have a moment where I'm actually able to watch the sunset and not be thinking about, well, I got to get back to my car because I need to use. You know what I mean?
Not thinking about yesterday, tomorrow.
Who I hurt earlier, why I need to cover this pain up.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you had some bottoms, like, in recovery. How did you get through those? And yeah, I don't really know either. I don't know how I've gotten through them. So I like what you said about trusting, right?
Yeah.
Faith being trust.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is happening, but I know that the outcome is going to be what it's going to be, right? It's not going to be good or bad, but ultimately it's better if I stay in recovery than go back out. So can you talk about like a little bit about hardships and?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, I had no trust when I came in, like at all. I think I think that's normal for a lot of us. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but in my experience, trust was non-existent for me. Like non-existent. However, and I also did not get along with women at all for the most part. Like women and I we didn't. I had no
recovery or in
like pre-recovery.
Okay.
Yeah, like I grew up with women hating my guts, which was fine. I didn't really like them either. So, but when I got into recovery, all of a sudden I was surrounded by all these really strong women, and like women who, weren't there to tear me down, women who were there to pick me up. And so I think my trust started there, when I was able to like, and I think it goes back to like childhood stuff, like I had a really abusive mother. And so the trust there with women was already broken. And now there's these women and I have to trust them because they're the ones that are showing me where I got to go. And so that kind of opened the door to the trust thing. And I think that helped a lot with when things happened in my life, like really negative things, because I was able to like call this group of really strong women who would not co-sign any of my bullshit. They would tell me the truth. They would support me, they'd let me talk about my problem, but what's the solution attached to that problem?
We're not staying in the problem.
Yeah, because like if you let me live in the problem, I'm going to end up going back out eventually. I don't want to do that. I want to talk about it for a minute though, because I'm in pain. But now tell me the truth. So and that built a lot of trust, and I think that's how I've gotten through everything. It's like I do have these people in my corner that I can rely on, and I'm able to ask for help now, where before I was never able to ask for help. I was just this ultra independent, or seemingly super independent person who didn't need anything from anyone, and really like, you can't do this alone. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like a big pivotal moment. I also had a moment in recovery. I think it was about 18 months clean and sober. And I was in a relationship, we had used together and we met in active addiction. And then I got clean and sober and he didn't. And, I blamed him for a lot of things for a long time. But the more recovery I got, the more I could see why he acted the way he did. But I wasn't able to necessarily change my behavior at the time. And I went through this bottom in recovery where I was just like so angry and sad and I didn't know how to manage anything. And I was driving my car and I'm crying and screaming. Like if somebody saw me, they would have probably called 911, like somebody come get her. She's not okay. And I think that's where my faith really shifted and where I got this trusting moment, because I put my phone on Do Not Disturb when I got home and I'm just crying and crying. And like this lasted for hours. And then all of a sudden it stopped. Like I was just sitting there like begging God, like, please, like fucking help me. Like I am dying here in recovery. And oh God, I'm just thinking about it.
Love it.
And it was like, if I could visualize it, it was like something just grabbed me and like squished me. And it was like everything's, and I stopped crying immediately. Like, I mean, ugly, snotty cry. And just immediately and from that moment, I think that's where my faith really started to grow. It was like, I don't need to know the answers. I don't need to know if everything's going to be okay, like it is. I have to just trust that. But I think there's a lot of power in going through those really tough times, because that's how we learn. Like I shared my story once at a treatment center, and I was talking about how I was addicted to suffering. I was like, I will suffer through anything. That is my superpower. I can do it. But like, do I want to suffer? No. Do I want to feel pain? Yeah, I can go through pain. That's cool. I don't want to suffer anymore. I don't want to be addicted to that chaos. And one of the women said, how do you know if you're suffering or you're in pain? Yeah. And I was like, ooh, shit, that's a good question.
Because they're two different things.
They are. Yeah. And I said, give me a minute. And I was like sitting there like, shit, how do you know? And so for me, if I'm comfortable in my pain, I'm suffering. if I am uncomfortable in my pain, that is pain. There's growth on the other side of that. But if I'm sitting there comfortably in my pain and I'm in self-pity and self-loathing, I am not growing. There is no growth attached to that. I am literally feeding the devil right now. That is what I'm doing. You know, I'm feeding my demons. So yeah, I've been through a lot of hardship in recovery, but that hardship has been the best thing for me because there's so much growth attached to that.
Yeah. And then too, like you get to a point where you're like, if I can get through that, Jesus, I can get through anything.
Oh, right? I say that about, I called my sponsor one day and I was like, guess what happened? And I told her and I forget what it was. And she was like, the next time somebody says to me, I can't do this, I'm just going to tell them to call you. Cause she's like, I swear to God, you've been through like every possible thing that you could go through in recovery. And, but I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that you can't remember what that was?
I can't remember what it was.
Because
I know.
It wasn't that bad.
No, well, at the time, I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. My life's over. And then I'm like, what happened last week? I don't even know. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Like, we do this thing where we walk around like with movie projectors, projecting our movie onto the world, right? And somebody comes in, they're like, it's not that bad, dude. Like I've been through worse. I've been through that and got through it, whether it's financial, whether it's death, right? Grieving. There's a lot of bad shit that can happen in life, you know, abuse, right? Yeah. And people have gone through it. They're going through it right now. They're, you know, I had a woman here that got through sex trafficking and she's sober now. And like her story was insane. I couldn't relate to half the shit, but I could relate to all the feelings. And I could relate to wanting love and I could relate to codependence. And like, if she can get through that, and like, you know what I mean? It's, and it's not to say that her trauma is worse than anybody. Trauma is subjective, right? Your trauma or my trauma, I'll say it this way, my trauma might be your Tuesday afternoon. You know what I mean?
So I think that's important to note. And it's something that I share a lot if I'm sharing my story is like, my story is not going to look like yours. And whether it's seemingly worse or seemingly better than your story, remember that like everybody's pain is relevant. Like it is everybody's, and it's relative to you. So whatever I feel and whatever I went through, whatever you feel and whatever you went through, the feelings are the same, story's different. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you, so you mentioned drugs a lot.
Yeah.
And did you struggle with alcohol as well? Or was that kind of? Yeah.
Alcohol was probably like the worst for me. Like I used heavy drugs when I was younger. I took like a very long hiatus and started again, like later in life after my last son, or just before I got pregnant with my last son, and it almost took me out. Yeah. Like it was like I didn't miss a day.
Yeah. I hear this a lot. The reason I ask you that, I hear this a lot where people are coming in, they're like, yeah, I'm a drug addict, check. And I was like this too.
Oh no, alcohol.
But alcohol was never my problem. What do you say to those people when they say that?
It's not my place. So for me, anything. Like it doesn't matter what it is. If I'm using something to fill the hole my ego dug, I have a problem. Like anything that's numbing my feelings, I have a problem with. I am an addict through and through. It doesn't matter what it is. I will use people, I will use places, I will use things, whatever it takes to fill that void, I will do it. Absolutely. Period. So like I was absolutely an alcoholic. It took me a bit to come to that because it's so socially acceptable, right? But like every time I put alcohol in my body, I can't stop. And every time I put any substance, I can't stop. I was the same with relationships. I can't stop. So, that's what it is for me. So I can't, that's my opinion on it.
No, it's true. And the reason I bring it up is because it's a pretty common thing where people are able to accept. I go back to my treatment center every so often when I'm able to, and we do an aftercare program. And there was a guy that was sitting there. I was like, I check. I'm an addict for sure, but I think I can still drink. Like I think I still got this, right? And I definitely was like that when I first came in. I heard it, someone say in Utah one time when I was there for treatment, the same shit, different shovel, And I love it. It is like I use outside things to change my insides. I've done it with gambling. I've done it with anything, all sorts of relationships, like you said, all sorts of things. For me though, when I start drinking, I just immediately want drugs. Yep. Right. So it was like when I said that to him, he was like, oh yeah. Yeah. Like me too. Right. And that was simple enough to kind of bridge the gap there. And I can remember a time where I maybe had a glass of wine. This was a long time ago, but at some point in the future, I was grabbing cocaine. Yeah. It's like,
I think it's like the shift, like my brain shift too, right? Like if I were to make the conscious decision today to pick up a drink, before I even get to that drink, I'm ruining everybody's life. That's the reality of the type of addict alcoholic I am. I don't need to actually have the substance in my body. I just need to have that conscious choice that that's the way I'm going to live my life. Because once I start living in my active addiction self, I literally destroy everything.
Yeah. And all the behaviors come with it. All the thought patterns come with it. All the poor me. And that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Right. And that's what's really really big for me today is like, I really thought drugs and alcohol were my problem. And they weren't. They were my solution. They're actually what kept me alive for a bit, if I'm being honest. Like, yes, they almost took my life, but they also saved me from the pain I didn't want to feel. But what I really, really, really realized through doing work in recovery is like, that was not my problem. My problem was me. It was the things I was avoiding, the pain I didn't want to face, it was all of those things. And because of those things, I ended up hurting so many people. And that is not the life I want to live today.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah. And it's filled with shame and guilt. Yep. And again, like you mentioned before, who did I hurt? Who do I have to make an apology to? And the sorries and right. It's
and some people aren't coming back.
Yeah. That's a good point too.
Yeah. So I explain sometimes, like the way I see it is like, there's these scales and on one side you have people's love for you. And on the other side, you have their fear of you reoffending. And the more we lie and the more we hurt and the more pain we cause, their fear of us reoffending just goes up and up and up. And then when we decide to get into recovery and like change our lives, that fear of us reoffending doesn't come down right away. Yeah. And for some people, it's never coming down. It's not that they don't love us. It's just that their fear of us reoffending is so much greater than their love for us.
And the trust is just gone.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to force anybody back into my life. Like if your life is better without me in it, then it should probably stay that way. Like I take no offense to that anymore.
Yeah. And again, I have no control over it anyways. Yeah. And the minute I try to control that, like you mentioned in the beginning, everything blows up. Yeah. Because control is our biggest enemy in my experience.
It really is.
I just want everyone to live my way. Right. Yes. Beautiful. Amazing. Let's end with this, because I always end with this. But if you could say something to someone struggling in active alcoholism or addiction right now, what would you say?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know, because there's nothing anyone could have said to me. What I will say is like, I truly believed that I was incapable of change, and I did not believe anybody was capable of change. I thought that's just the way people are. That's it. Until I changed. Until I saw the other side, I was incapable of seeing that it was possible. And now I do believe that anybody can change. I do believe that it is possible, and it is possible for anybody. But you have to take that first step. Nobody can take it for you.
Love it.
And there's a lot of help out there too. There's so much help. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. To your point, it's like I can watch a million recovery videos, but until I make that first step, and it's right. It's nobody's coming to save you.
Nobody.
Right? Like it sounds harsh, but it's true. I've had that experience.
1000%.
My parents could do all the support financially and emotionally and bringing me in, but I had to get in the car. I had to stay at the treatment center. I had to do the work. Like it's all these things that line up together. Yeah. Right. Thank you so much, Candace, for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I had so much fun today. Thank you.
I'm so nervous.
You did great. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. Please help us grow the channel and like, share, and subscribe for more content. The discussions and stories shared on this podcast are for informational and motivational purposes only. This content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, addiction treatment, or therapy. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please consult a licensed physician, addiction specialist, or mental health professional. You are no longer alone.